Welcome to Mommionaire Digital Marketing Podcast, where we gather to learn how to use online strategies to build our direct marketing business. Through this podcast, you will be learning how to create offers, funnels, and storytelling so that you can create value for your potential customers as well as your downline. Enjoy the show. Life is about making decisions. Today's motivational, I want to talk about how it is important as women that we make decisions. We evaluate the situations in our lives and we make the decisions for our next step. Whether these decisions are going to be right or not, make the best decision with measuring the pros and the cons of your decision and take the leap forward. Don't be afraid. Don't second guess yourself. If you're looking to start your own business, look at the pros and cons of owning your business. Look at the current market and see if there's a demand for your products and make a determination from there. If you're looking to start a new career, do the same thing. Look at the pros and the cons of the career and then make a decision forward. When you make the decision forward, it doesn't mean that there's a promise that the grass is going to be greener on the other side or you're going to reach this point of utopia, but that you made a decision is very important. Now, in my 20s, I was thinking of what I wanted to do with my plan B. I was working in the hotel industry. I was doing very well in the hotel industry. And I also, while working in the hotel industry, was also working for a travel agency. At the time that I was working for this travel agency, I spent 6 months with that travel agency and I decided that, hey, I want to have my own agency as a business because I already have a full-time job. So why not start, instead of working for an agency, start my own business because I've already obtained the training in order to be a good travel agent. And I was actually working at a major travel agency right near Lincoln Center. So I looked at the opportunities that were out there to start a business. And there were 2 travel agencies that offered me a franchise. And while interviewing with these agencies and trying to make the decision, I remember going to one agency, which was quite impressive, was right near where I worked at the time on Madison Avenue. The person who owned the agency, she had pictures of her with major presidents, President Bush, President Clinton, major people in power. Quite impressive lady. And I remember discussing, telling her how I'm trying to make this decision, whether I want to pursue joining a travel agency or whether I just want to just stay and just work my job and then, move the ladder. And she looked at me, and at that point, I was in an excellent position in the hotel industry. And she looked at me and she told me, she was like, with the connections that you have a door that's open to you that is not open to everyone. And she looked at me and she goes, just thinking of what decision you need to make, of what agency you want to become a part of as a franchise, it's making that decision is more important than which one. And she said, of course, you want to select the best company that's for you and you want to measure the pros and the cons. But I'd rather work with someone who makes decisions than someone who sits there and say, hey, I have options in front of me, but I'm going to stay where I am. And this person is always afraid to make decisions. And she goes, because not every decisions are going to be the right decision. But a person who takes the leap forward to make a decision, whether to own a business or to change their career or to make some changes in their lives that they feel that is important for them and their family, that's a person you want in your team. Because Many people want to achieve a dream in their lives, but saying that you want to achieve something and you want to do something and just talking about it does not make a difference. What makes a difference is that decision to leap forward. And today I'm reflecting on my life and decisions that I've made. And I actually had to make a decision about something very personal to me. And as I'm reflecting on the decision that I made for me and for my daughter, I realized that, I could sit there and be discontented in a situation and be unhappy and say, hey, I'm unhappy about this and I'm going to try so many ways to solve it. Or I can make a decision to move forward and eliminate this situation in my life and move forward for me and for my daughter, to show her what it is to be a strong woman. And suddenly, as I was thinking through this, I just remembered that lady, and her voice, her message is always with me, that it's important to make a decision in your life. When you get to the other side, then you can evaluate whether that decision was right or wrong. But make the decision, certainly evaluate your decision before you go ahead with it. But once you finish evaluating the pros and the cons, go forward with a decision. Take that leap of faith. Move forward and believe that whatever you want to achieve will happen. When you get to the other side, it may not have been the best decision, but you know what? The lesson you are going to learn along the way is going to make you a greater person. And then, you know what? You'll get a stage where you make another decision that leaps you forward. But to live life without making a decision is to live life filled with void, to live life in fear, and to live life without thinking of what could be if I had made a decision. So, as I'm speaking to you today, there may be decisions that you need to make in your life. Think about this. If you weigh the pros and the cons, what is stopping you today from making that step forward? Whether it be to start a business, whether it be to go back to school and get a new career or a new skill, whether it be to make personal decisions in your life. As women, while we're sitting here and during the time of the corona, we have to make some life decisions of what's important, what to keep in our life, what to take out of our life, what friends or people that we need to not have them be a part of our lives, and in order for us to go forward. And that's okay. But we need to make that decision, because if you don't, you can't take that next step. I remember about 3 years ago when I had made the decision that I was going to move to Florida. Now, this decision did not come easy because I had just gotten divorced. It was about 2 years within my divorce, 3 years in my separation with my ex-husband. I had the strongest support you could ever have. My family was behind me. There's nothing I needed that they would not give me. And they themselves were surrounded by people who loved them, in a community that they had support. And just being part of my family was major, because there was nothing I didn't need that I didn't get. But I wasn't satisfied. First, we had moved from New York to Florida to pursue a better life. Things didn't end up well with my marriage. Not that it didn't end up well. Things weren't well in the very beginning, but I had to come to that point where I had to make a decision whether to stay in an abusive relationship or to move forward. And I made the right decision for me and for my daughter. But now I was a single mom, teaching salary, trying to make ends meet. The worst part was, the challenges with the quality of education that was available in Florida. Almost every year I was switching my daughter from one school to the other, because I always wanted a better school. The school would be great one year because of a new principal, and the principal was phenomenal. Suddenly that principal got promoted. Then they would just select anyone to become a principal. And I remember that last year when I was in Florida, my daughter had about 8 math teachers, and only one of them was a certified teacher, and he was not even certified in math. And when he worked in another state, he was certified in another subject, but when he came to Florida, passed the test and became a math teacher. And it was a retired person who was already burnt out with education, who didn't even teach math in the classroom. That to me was my final straw. And realizing how everyone have always told me my daughter is highly intelligent. When she was in New York, she was one of the high-ranking students at her school in Long Island, New York, which was an A school. And to see me struggle trying to make sure that there is no gap in my daughter's learning. Someone actually had seen me, met me. He was a superintendent for a school in Virginia, retired, decided to go back to teaching just for a little bit. He only actually lasted at this job for a few months because he was retired. He didn't really need it. It was more for, to have something to do. And he looked at me and he was like, you don't belong here. You don't belong in this state. You don't belong in this school district. You need to leave. You need to go back up north and teach up north because you're a phenomenal teacher. You're a great professional. You have a lot to offer. So I, listened to him for a few weeks, about a month or so, and he kept every day was like, you need to apply for a school in Virginia, Maryland, or go back to New York. So finally decided to apply to the school district of my dream, because at that time I was studying about the school district and it was phenomenal. Got a job offer to work for the district. And when I approached my family and told them about that, and they knew my frustration with what I was seeing going on with education in Florida. There are some great educators, so let me just explain that, because I have some great friends who are phenomenal educators in Florida. But what they do with us, who are phenomenal educators in Florida, is overwork us, and then these new and we're trying to fill the gap for these people, new teachers coming in who may not have gone to school to become educators, but somehow passed the exam to obtain the certification and now in the classroom and don't understand anything about pedagogy or students' developmental stages. So going back, looking at that, I remember going to my cousins and telling them, hey, I found a job in Florida and we're moving to Florida. And they just looked at me and they were like, really? And I said, listen, the pay is not that great. I'm about to complete my master's degree. I'm not going to see a change in my salary. I have a certification as a social studies teacher. I have a certification as a special ed teacher, both in New York and Florida. And the pay is not that great in Florida. And, I'm tired of struggling with my daughter, trying to make sure she's at the right school and that she doesn't have a gap in her learning. So I took the leap forward. And it was a hard leap because I had just come out from an accident. My body wasn't feeling great, but I did. I packed up my stuff and my daughter and I left. We drove our car from Florida to Maryland. And it was a major leap. Was everything perfect when we arrived? No, it wasn't perfect. The grass was not greener on the other side. There were some challenges, but one of the things that I understood was that I had made a decision. And who did I make the decision for? I made the decision for my career and for my daughter. I made a decision so that I can grow as an educator and so that my daughter does not have a gap in her learning. But what I didn't realize was that decision that I made was greater because I also knew that I had prayed about my decision and I knew that was the right step forward for me and my daughter. And in making that decision, nowhere in my move in Maryland, in the 2 years that I was in Maryland, was easy. It was probably the most challenging time of my life as a professional, as a parent, because I had no support whatsoever. But I allowed myself to go through the process. And the woman that I am right now talking is a total different woman than I was in Florida. As an educator, as a parent, and as a person who's starting her business, I realized that decisions makes us grow as people. And as we grow, we are able to overcome challenges and understand that life will always have challenges, but it's how we deal with challenges that makes us who we are. So I am going to encourage you, make whatever decision you need to do, evaluate your decision, pray on your decision, ponder. But when it comes to making the decision, make the decision and go forward, because there are greater things ahead for you. It may not be easy, but the decision you make is to make you a greater person so that you can make a difference in the world that we're living in. So have a great day and make a decision today. Bye-bye. If you would like to get more information on how to build your direct marketing business using online strategies as well as social media, please go to our website, mommillionairedigitalmarketing.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe and also make some comments of what you would like to hear in our next show. Thank you. Bye-bye.